Greetings from Hartville, Ohio. I'm Jen Clevenger, and I'm a professor at Walsh University, which is a small liberal arts college in North Canton, Ohio. For the past 10 years, my favorite class to teach has been May term field botany. But this year, when the pandemic hit in March, our university moved online and my class was in jeopardy. Since I knew that I already had 2 students who needed to take the class to graduate, I agreed that I would try to teach it online. And today I want you to tell you about this online experience and how I was able to still get the students outside and into nature. First, let's start with some background information on my course. At Walsh University, field botany is an upper-level 4-credit course. The prerequisite is freshman biology. Many students enroll in the course for elective credit toward their biology major or toward their environmental science minor. It also counts as a service learning course, which is required for all of our students to graduate. Normally, this course meets for 3 weeks on campus with local field trips, followed by an immersive week at field botany camp at a place located 90 minutes from campus. But of course, due to the pandemic, field trips and camps were all canceled for the 2020 edition. Instead, my 9 students and I made do with synchronous lectures on Zoom and independent field trips in the students' hometowns. Although the lectures were synchronous, I did also record and post them in case students had technical difficulties or excused absences. Each day's lecture was accompanied by 4 to 5 assignments posted on our course management system. The first assignment was always a series of questions about the morning's lecture. This was to assure comprehension of the material. Then students were assigned to watch 1 or 2 internet videos and answer a series of questions about them. I used both traditional videos and what I like to call pandemic videos. The traditional videos included things like Dr. Chris Martin's Plants Are Cool Too YouTube series. His videos have always been a staple of my field botany class, allowing my students to view botany clear across the United States from Idaho to Louisiana to upstate New York. On the other hand, these other videos that I call pandemic videos are all ones that were recently recorded by naturalists, professors, and museums as a way to educate during the pandemic. I included videos that were made by the Ohio Department of Natural Resources and Columbus Metro Parks. I highlighted the curator of botany from the Cleveland Museum of Natural History, Dr. Jim Bissell, with him sharing about his work. I even shared videos from fellow botany professor, Dr. Tim Evans at Grand Valley State University in Michigan. My students really enjoyed how he used humor in his videos, especially the ones to teach the difference between thorns, spines, and prickles in the outdoors. These pandemic videos set the stage for a later project the students had where they created their own service learning videos that they shared on social media. The final daily assignment was an outdoor assignment, 1 or 2 of them that the students had to complete. During week 1, the outdoor assignments consisted of going out and finding things that we had learned about in lecture and submitting a photograph of them. For instance, one of the ones they had to go find was spring beauties, Claytonia virginica, and also they had to go out and find poison ivy, Toxicodendron radicans, but of course not touch it. As we began to learn how to use identification keys during lecture, I then was able to have them go out and identify unknown plants. My students were using Newcomb's Wildflower Guide and my own tree guide, but of course, depending upon student skill level, one could use more comprehensive and more technical guides as well. The students were asked to go outside and identify an unknown plant and submit a photo and submit the steps they used to identify it. Since I felt very comfortable with my students, having known the majority of them from spring semester classes, I gave them my cell phone number and encouraged them to text me from the field with their questions, identifications, and photos. This led to dynamic interchanges with the students where they were able to ask about an identification and learn from their mistakes in real time. The majority of my students took advantage of this. In addition to the daily assignments, students also completed 5 projects. The first project was an invasive species talk. That has always been a part of my field botany class, but this was the first time students ever did their presentations on Zoom. The second project was creating 3 educational videos, and these videos replaced the service learning project we normally did, where 250 third graders visited campus and learned about botany and ecology from us. The videos that the students created were 3 to 4 minutes each, and students were required to share them on social media for the service learning component. If students had privacy concerns, I gave them alternative ways to share. Topics included morphology, plant identification, invasive species, and citizen science. Here you can see 2 screenshots of student videos that were submitted. The first one is a video describing the invasive species, Japanese knotweed. And the second one is a video where the student teaches you how to tell the difference between poison ivy and Virginia creeper. If you would like to view some of our field botany videos, you can visit our YouTube channel at Walsh University Field Botany. The third project was the submission of 12 digital photographs of wildflowers, trees, or shrubs. Here is a sample of 4 of the photos submitted. Each had to include the correct identification and the location. Throughout the rest of this presentation, you will get a chance to observe 6 more of the student plant photos on subsequent slides. The fourth project was to collect 5 pressed plants. Due to the pandemic, the students had to create their own makeshift plant press rather than use university-owned presses, and they did not have to mount their specimens. They submitted their specimen labels digitally. Now, all of this was a bit problematic. As you can see from the first photo, the plant presses that were submitted to me came in all shapes and sizes. And the second photo shows the specimen, which now I have the responsibility of having to mount in order to put them and archive them in our herbarium. I was very much tempted to omit this project, but I did not omit it because this project, along with the photograph project, are being used this fall as a collaboration with our Walsh Museum Studies program. Our Walsh Museum Studies program every year has its seniors put on an art show on campus. And this year's group is going to put on a botanical art show that is going to showcase our photos, the best of our photos and the best of our herbarium specimens in an art show. This art show is going to coincide with our campus celebration of Arbor Day, which is a requirement for us to earn our Tree Campus USA recognition, which we're going on our 3rd year of recognition. The final project was another service learning project, and this one involves 4 hours of garlic mustard removal. Garlic mustard is in the top 10 invasive plant species of Ohio, and the month of May is an ideal time to pull it. In normal years, we do this project at Field Botany Camp, but during the pandemic, students were asked instead to find a local spot to do their eradication. Each student was required to complete 4 hours over the course of 4 weeks and document it with photographs. Students got permission to pull garlic mustard in their community parks or on private property. The semester ended with a final exam where students used their identification keys to identify 7 unknown species. I was lucky in that I own a 20-acre wetland and forest, and so I was able to invite students to do their exams one-on-one on our property with proper social distancing. Students were also offered an online option on Zoom if they were not comfortable with face-to-face, and one student did choose this option, and it was successful. So the million-dollar question is, was the online field botany successful? Yes. And to look more into this, I want to highlight 3 positive outcomes of the semester. First, my online students were more independent at plant identification than my traditional classes. They couldn't hide in a group like you could in a traditional class when you were in a group field trip and identifying things using identification keys working together. Secondly, my online students got to choose their field trips instead of going out to my assigned spots, and this allowed them to become connected to their local community's natural areas instead. And finally, I observed that students were learning and sharing botanical knowledge with their families. One student helped her dad determine the identification of his favorite tree in their front yard. Another discussed plants with her father, who is an active outdoorsman and hunter. And yet another took her mom on her plant identification hikes. There were reports of interactions with grandparents, discussing plant knowledge, and even taking significant others out into the field to pull garlic mustard. Next year, I am proposing to blend the best of both worlds. I plan to teach field botany for the first 3 weeks online with the students botanizing in their local communities with their families, and as a side benefit, saving money on room and board then. And then, if everything's opened back up, we will travel to field botany camp for a week of group work where students can learn together and we can explore nature and bond over science. Thank you so much. I think we have time for some questions now.